Hello, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the King of Uruk update show. I'm your host, Titan Cupcake, and I'm joined with Pawn and Clumsy. How y'all doing today?
Good, good.
Yeah, having a pretty good day so far.
Nice, thanks for joining. So far, so good. Well, we've got a lot to cover today. We've got bonus balance, we've got skins, we've got living conquest changes, and of course, we've got the Grand Gilgamesh.
I'm excited for the living conquest changes.
Let's just jump
That's what
into
I'm
it
most
and start
excited.
talking about some bonus balance that'll go live on April 6th.
I want to see what that actually means.
So some of the first bonus balance that we have coming up will be a nerf to Janus, specifically his threshold.
Okay.
Clumsy, could you tell us a little bit more about Janus's nerf?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we did a lot of Janus changes, you know, finally gave him some buffs that I think he well deserved and needed. It definitely gave him some more power.
Makes him less annoying to chase around the map. I actually like that.
While his win rate hasn't really rose that much from where, you know, he was historically on the bottom, we also know that his frustration definitely did go up, and a lot of that is in how mobile he is, especially with the larger map. So we wanted to touch upon threshold. You know, it gives a lot of 30% movement speed at max rank. We're really just going to be bringing that down. Pretty much across the board.
Where's the Janus nerf that is ultimate no longer automatically hits people named Incon?
We've also got nerfs coming for Tsukiyomi.
Dang it. Nothing.
Will you talk about that, Pawn?
Yeah, of course. So Tsukiyomi, definitely one of the stronger performer characters. We did adjustments, and he kind of settled out, but over time, we've seen him still excel a little bit too much. So we're taking some base damage off.
He doesn't get picked quite as much anymore, but he is annoying.
Just to make sure that when he goes to like gank you or when he goes to pressure you, it's a bit more fair in terms of the damage output he has, as well as his clear speed.
Okay.
I'm excited to see that in action.
It's not a huge nerf.
We've also got nerfs coming for Guan Yu, which
is a little bit more of a
another
love
one that
tap.
I'm excited about.
Guan Yu needs
what about
a nerf.
that one, Pawn? Do you know more about that?
There you go.
Yeah, so we have the not only for Guan Yu, but also for the next character, we have some cooldown increases. Mainly, Guan Yu is a character that has been really rising in the rank scene. The buff damage to Talu Assault was definitely something that helped him.
He has one of the best win rates in the game,
we also think that him having is good for him as a character. So rather than removing that component, we want to just address some other areas of his kit where Conviction Warriors, well, they have low cooldowns that can be reduced further through gameplay. We're just going to increase those so that they're happening less frequently. You have more opportunities to catch up with Guan Yu, or to slow down his healing output just a hair.
Good.
And that leads into the Aphrodite nerf as well.
Yep. Another god at the top of the win rate.
Even though we did a lot of the anti-heal changes
healers,
recently, she hasn't actually struggled. You know, she hasn't moved down the charts as much as you think. In fact, really not at all. So we think increasing
healers
the
are still basically the best gods in the game, even after all the changes.
She gets when she's hitting an
win
enemy,
rate wise,
healing her allies, you know, be a little bit more impactful and more noticeable, especially when you get to late game.
That's good. I'm liking the cooldown increases.
All right, neat. We've also got 2 more nerfs coming up, one for Apollo and his Serenade specifically, and I believe it's going to be a revert. Will you tell us more about that, Clumsy?
Yeah, so for Apollo, we're going to be decreasing the physical protections. We gave him, you know, a little more survivability. We gave him a lot of buffs actually coming from the last season, and he's
this will not
resilient,
severely impact Apollo.
Well. He's definitely shot up to be one of the top punches right now, and we think hitting a Serenade, hitting
this won't even
something that, you know, he can utilize really well, especially late game when he just needs a few more auto
zero impact on Apollo
towards the late game, which is where we want to address.
The other nerfs will have an impact. This one, no impact.
Okay, great. And then the last one on the list, Pawn, could you tell us more about the Nemesis nerf to Retribution specifically?
Yep, so we're just increasing the shield health, which also will impact the healing that she gets from the shield when she uses
See that right there? That's an impactful nerf.
And the big thing here is Nemesis was one of the last assassins on the list to really be performing really well, but not see too much of a nerf. Set last patch got the Bumba's Hammer change. In this case, Nemesis is getting the Retribution shield change here, just to make sure that when you do trade with her, she's not trading as positively with her shield when she gets it off successfully.
Good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for telling us about the bonus balance that'll be coming. Tons of nerfs that are coming y'all's way on April 6th.
Yep.
But with that, we also have a lot of cosmetics that are going to be hitting the battleground. So we've got the Talons of Tyranny event is going to be coming with new skins.
All right.
The first skin that we'll talk about is Prince of Lightning Zeus.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, wow.
It looks
he's hot.
Incredible. Oh no! He looks amazing though.
Zeus is in like a boy band or something.
To see all of the effects and everything in game 2. We've also got the voice lines ready, so let's give it a listen.
Oh, yeah. It's edgy high school Zeus.
Great, another set of fools to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
So be it.
For sure.
Man, that outfit's so great.
I
love it.
Compare this directly with Almighty Zeus and just have them face off.
Yeah.
Which one will come out on top? We've also got Rune Machina Ganesha hitting the battleground as well through the Talents of Tyranny event. Let's take a look at that one.
Ooh.
Oh, I love him.
That looks pretty
so
cool.
Neat.
That's cool card art.
Yeah,
I don't even know what it's going to look like in game.
Skin.
That's cool card art.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
All right, let's give the voice pack a listen.
Yeah. I could have never predicted what this would have looked like in game.
The opener of ways.
That's cool.
Oh, that sounds amazing. It looks amazing. I also have a note from our audio team that said that they incorporated some Middle Eastern instruments into his magical sounds. So when you get to play him through the PTS this weekend, give it a listen and see if you can point those out for yourself. We've also got one last skin that'll be coming out with the bonus update. We've got the Queen Bee Nox, and oh my gosh, the drip. She looks incredible.
Bee Nox.
I love that dress. I'm really excited to see what the effects we're gonna pull off on this one.
And the honeycombs in the back.
Wow.
It's just beautiful.
The
Very
bees
pretty.
rotating around the scepter.
Yes.
Maybe the abilities would be cool, but the skin does
listen.
nothing for me.
Let us give them a little sting, darling.
Oh my goodness, yes.
But there's cool ability
yes.
effects
Slay
though, because
Queen.
Nox all comes down to ability effects.
I love her.
I love also the Easter eggs.
She's got some cool potential with her abilities.
In the background
so.
of one of the card art that she was in, which is really neat.
Nice.
I love the Easter eggs in the backgrounds of the different card arts. The more you look, the more you find.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap up all of the bonus update balance and skins that'll be hitting the battleground. But we also have some community news to go over. So the first thing that I wanted to remind everybody about is the birthday event. We still have some in-game rewards that you can earn for free through April 6th, where you can be unlocking all kinds of avatars, jump stamps, global emotes. And once you unlock 6, you will get the Kukulkan skin for free. So make sure you're logging in every day to get those rewards.
Yep.
We've also got a reminder that SPL is right around the corner.
We just talked about it.
So April 23rd is going to be the kickoff.
Yep.
Yes, right. It feels like it's been forever. But don't forget that you can also grab the in-game cosmetics and all of those
and the Tartarus
proceeds will go directly to the players, so you can
Expect
support them in-game and out of game.
To the top of that
and then the last
list.
thing that I wanted to cover with y'all for community news is we have a new Prime Gaming skin available for y'all to claim for free.
Nice.
It is Infinite Seer Op Wash.
Nice. That's
so
a really good
make
one.
sure you claim that one.
That's right. Prime
I love
Gaming.
all of those
Free
Infinite
Smite
skins.
skins.
They're so pretty and their
Free
effects are
subs
gorgeous.
to Incon.
So if you don't have this
What
one
a deal.
already, again, it's
What a
free through
deal.
Prime Gaming, so pick that up.
That's a prime gamer right there.
Are we ready to get into the balance that will be going live with the King of Uruk update?
Yeah, we got a lot to go over.
Let's go.
All right, first things first. The first 3 things are kind of all looped together, and I'll hand this off to Pawn. So we've got nerfs coming for Bumba's Hammer, Death's Toll, and Death's Embrace. So what is the change that's happening with those?
Yeah, so these are all interesting items where basically for hitting
no longer
targets,
procs on immune jungle camps.
So Bumba's Hammer, you get some health back.
You can't sit outside of the range and proc him anymore.
Damage. Death's Embrace, you get quite a bit of health back. And this was something that you could proc on immune camp, so you could stand outside of a jungle monster radius and just shoot in and hit immune targets, and you just heal up to full or get cooldowns back really quickly. It felt a little bit against the spirit of what those items really are. Life Steal, for example, you do have to actually engage and damage the camp to get health back. So we're just changing these items to function more to where you actually have to engage the target. Now, if you want to reset them and let them get back to full health to try and trigger on them again, sure. But now it's not so free. You have to actually invest time and positioning to go deep.
This is my fault. I always say shh before I do it.
We also are going to have a buff coming for Ornate Arrow,
Close
where the item will now provide 10% attack speed and also provide some critical strike chance along with some changes to the passive. Clumsy, could you take that on for us?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great starter item choices. Ornate Arrow and Gilded Arrows being started.
So they're basically taking a little bit off the passive and just getting it flat.
Especially with some of the counter builds. So now with these buffs, you get a lot of the passive that you kind of needed a lot more stacks, a lot more gold for Ornate Arrow brought up front. Yep. So you're really going to just get a reward immediately on picking up the upgrade.
That's good.
Okay, cool.
That's a buff.
And then Leader's Cowl is getting a buff as well.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody build Leader's Cowl.
Yeah, so Leader's Cowl is one of the ones where it's a little more of a niche scenario for hunters. It's like we talked about with the Ornate Arrow. There's just a lot of great choices. So now with this change, we're getting a 15% attack speed just straight off the bat. It's similar to what we talked about. It's just a reward that you'll get. You don't really need to worry about the competing options as much.
And then additionally, that new passive, not only is it a little bit better wording, so it's a bit clearer to understand, but you'll also always get 5% increased power to ally gods, whether or not you're outnumbering or not. Okay. So that also just makes it more upfront usable in a lot of situations. So even in a full 5-on-5 team fight where everyone's even, you are getting some benefit.
It's such a very specific item that I just don't know.
Awesome. This next item is getting nerfed.
I just don't know who would ever pick it up, you know?
Every game. Sentinel's Embrace.
It's so specific.
Pawn, why are we giving that a nerf?
I mean, everybody's in every single game. It's really not only super effective, but it was also very restrictive in what you could go in to
increase the passive or range.
Even if you might find the Compassion Tier 1 starter a bit better, it upgraded to Compassion and not Sentinel's Embrace, and so you're kind of like, I'm just going to go Sentinel's Embrace. So largely what we're doing here is making it spread out a bit more, so it's harder to just see a lot of teammates to give a whole bunch of protections to. And we're also reducing the aura. We are making up for some of it on the base stats to make sure that when you pick it up as a support, you still feel good about the defenses you're getting. But you're not going to be giving as much to your teammates, and hopefully this
it's basically still as good for you, but less good for your teammates.
Oh, gotcha. So make sure you get those Sentinel's Embrace games in before this nerf takes place.
It's kind of what they're looking at.
They'll still be pretty good.
We'll see.
I mean,
we'll let the community be the judge of that.
It's still very good.
Compassion is also going to be getting a buff.
Oh, here we go. I'm about to say there's no reason not to build it, but
increased. The magical protections will be increased along with the HP 5. Clumsy, could you give us a little bit more insight on that buff?
Yeah, so we still think that even with the nerfs of Sentinel's Embrace, it's still going to be pretty good, and that's why we're also buffing up some of its alternates.
I like the increased passive range.
Supports kind of struggle to use because of the range being a little bit limiting, so we're giving that a big chunk of extra range.
I like that.
And you're also getting a lot more defenses so that when you are taking
that's the biggest part, to make sure that you're actually utilizing the item.
Cool. Sounds good. We have a shift
the biggest problem with Compassion is that you can't start with Sentinel's gift. That's the biggest issue.
More details about that, Pawn?
There it is.
Yeah, so Sundering Axe was very good for warriors, but it also had a secondary use case, which was that a lot of mages in particular were often skipping the starter and then rushing Sundering Axe.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
Getting this basically extra 10% and health damage up front on all their bursts. It's interesting. We think that's a cool idea, but we don't want that to be the dominant go-to strategy.
Look at that shift.
So we're going to make
they straight up said, stop buying Sundering Axe.
We're making it so that it scales off partially your protections from items. So warriors, you're largely not going to notice a change. If you're building kind of this bruiser tanky warrior, it's going to be
instead
as
of being 10, now it's 5%
for you.
Plus
if you're a mage and you're
total
splashing
protection.
it in at the very end to your full power build, it's not going to be quite as effective as it was before.
Gotcha.
That's a good shift. That's a great shift to say, yo, mages, hop off my Sundering Axe. It's for the solo laners. It's a great
Bluestone
shift.
Pendant and Bluestone Brooch. Clumsy, could you tell us about those?
Yeah, I mean, Bluestone Pendant and Brooch as well. Those are the starter items you really wanted. The ability characters where you're using a lot to poke your enemies and hit the wave, but it just wasn't really giving you enough punch, and that's really what we're doing here. We're just punching up both of the numbers.
There we go. That's a punch up
to make it feel a little bit more competitive.
Okay, that's relevant.
All right.
Those are some relevant punches up.
We will also have a buff coming in for the alternate timeline. We'll be decreasing the cooldown on that.
Very interesting.
Pawn. What do you think?
Gonna have to take a gander at that blue.
When we were actually designing this item, it was one of the ones that we were most scared of about, like all the different starters.
Down to 6 minutes.
There was a timeline where this was the only item built by anyone.
6 minutes is
always had alternate timeline. So
in the realm of being interesting.
We gave it a 10-minute cooldown. That was probably too extreme. And overall, people actually found out that when they used it, often they needed their teammates really there to support them because they would just revive and die otherwise. There are counterplay options people can react to it, so we feel safer giving this effect more often just to see how it plays in upcoming.
It's certainly worth testing.
I've had some time to experiment with all the starters.
Totally,
for sure.
Sounds good. And the last thing that I've got on my list in terms of items is actually just a fix for Staff of Mirrodin, where we fixed an issue where the item was not triggering at the same time after ultimate ability fired as the other Arthurian items. Is there anything that y'all
there's some inconsistency. Yeah, the big example that people probably would think of is Hera and Aset. So those ultimates would wait till... So if you bought Pridwin, you'd cast those abilities and you immediately get Pridwin Shield. If you had Staff of Mirrodin, you had to wait till Argus died or the Circle of Protection exploded before you actually got it. So there was inconsistency with those two effects. They now match Pridwin, because that generally felt like the more straightforward, usable case.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
And now we get into the spicier part. Are we ready? Nerfs for Tiamat, man.
Nerfs for
we're
doing
Tiamat.
it.
Who wants
we're
to take that
nerfing
on?
Tia. Woo!
Oh, definitely. So, yeah. So
we did it.
I saw a lot of people.
We did it
for what we're gonna do here. We went a whole patch without any shifts to Tiamat at all, and we really just want to get more data. She's now in ranked as well. There's a lot of different sentiments from the community as well as from pro players and content creators. But in general, there's two main pain points, and I think it's very obvious for most people, and it's some things that we wanted to really assess and honestly.
Look at those mitigation nerfs.
And that's one. The mitigation she gets in her ground stance.
She still gets mitigation
She's still going to be able to get
Interesting.
a cap. So she goes from a base of 30% to a cap of 60%, but it's going to be relying on the magical power from items that she gets. So you can't just be a tanky bruiser solo lane with 0 magical power and still be just really frustrating to deal with. You're going to have to invest into
Interesting idea on that particular
nerf. And
nerf.
two, of course, the little baby serpents.
The little babies, dude!
And we really wanted to make sure that they released to a point, because it's such a niche ability and such a niche application and use case, that they were noticeable. So that we didn't need to buff them to the points where they were oppressive. We can now start where they're a little bit strong and then nerf them to the point where they feel fair. So there's so many different knobs we can tweak, and we chose that minions can now kill them more easily, and they also just deal less damage with the magical power scaling from Tiamat as well. On
Those
the
are
other
actually
side,
two
it's
good
a little
taps.
bit of a shift because she got 2 appropriate nerfs, and a lot of people said out of the 3 ultimate
buffing
buffs,
the storm.
in general, one of them kind of needed a buff to be a little bit more alluring.
They're buffing Tornado Sun.
We're just going to be bumping its scaling just a little bit on both the initial hit as well as the tick to make it a little bit scarier, to maneuver around in team fights. But I think with this, Tiamat's honestly been received in a pretty good spot, kind of where we'd expect, where her high-level applications in ranked, she is winning almost more than we might expect, but from casuals and certainly should bring that MMR down when people aren't.
To be fair, nobody ever used the tornado to begin with, so it's fine.
But I think these are going to be good steps forwards, and we're excited to see what you guys think.
It's a good start on nerfing her,
making his way onto the
and she's still gonna be the best god in the game. But it's a good start. The mitigation nerf is smart because it forces you to want to play her basically more mid lane, which is good.
I'm excited to see how.
And then the Tiamat minion nerf means less split pushing, and split pushing is annoying.
Next up, we've got Achilles. He will be getting a buff to his shield bash and fatal strike. Pawn, will you give us some details about that?
Yeah, Achilles is one of those characters that has generally been considered very good for a while, but he's kind of started to fall off as we've hit him with quite a few nerfs. And so we wanted to bring back some of his
really have a home
we wanted
right
to
now.
do that in a way that wasn't just damage. So Shield Bash getting a decreased cooldown will help him control the fight more often and help him clear and trade with.
He's definitely more of a jungler right now.
My Fatal Strike, this one is a interesting one where if he successfully executes a target, he takes more damage from opponents as kind of like he's showing his Achilles heel. But that was really punishing often. If you actually trigger this a few times, it removed your ability to continue the fight super heavily. It should feel like a punishment, but it shouldn't be too punishing. And so Fatal Strike is actually getting that decrease, which means that he'll be tankier than he was before after he successfully executes a target. Overall, just feeling the warrior role more successful.
I don't think that's going to have a very big effect.
Cool, so he won't feel like he's getting as much of a hurt.
It's a nice little love tab, though.
To his heel,
Wouldn't expect too much of a difference off of it.
Yep.
All right, cool.
That is actually what the tooltip is. It has Achilles' heel as the tooltip for that debuff.
So cute. We also got a buff coming for Bacchus with his Chug and Belch of the Gods.
Oh,
Clumsy, could you give us a little bit of context on that?
Decrease mana
Yeah,
cost.
Bacchus is one of those gods where you see him do decently well in Joust as well as maybe even in Arena, but in Conquest it's been hard to kind of bring him in. And not every god needs to be viable, but we've done a lot of efforts to try and make Chug not just feel like
a little bit more damage on the Belch.
Before you go into
Not
fights,
that big of a deal. Pretty
That was the
small
problem. So we're gonna
chat.
make this feel a little bit easier to use. Decrease the mana cost. It doesn't need to be something that makes you go on Bacchus, as well as reducing its cooldown, so you really feel like you don't feel a time where you kind of don't want to use it. Right? It's an easy choice to make, as well as increasing the damage of Belch of the Gods. I think we can all agree that Belch of the Gods, especially when you're trying to help your wave clear and your hunter, it's really not that strong. So we think bumping it up by just a little bit per tick will add up in the end.
Neat.
Little love tap for Bacchus. To be fair, you could probably use a little bit more than a love tap.
But... is getting a buff.
Ooh,
Yormi.
Yeah, Jormungandr, he was really successful in the solo lane when he came out.
Decent.
And we definitely hit him with a lot of nerfs back to back, mostly focusing on that attack damage, and there was a lot of interactions with that that we had to kind of shore up in the end. Well, now we've been looking for a few buffs, catering a little bit to the support as well as in the solo lane. The next step we want to
look at is knock-up action.
In fact, a lot of people may
you
not remember,
auto attack a little bit longer with the bellow.
You actually get an empowered attack speed buff from consuming bellow. So now we're going to elongate that buff a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more easy to use, giving him that attack speed buff that he kind of was lacking with the nerfs, as well as reducing the cooldown on Submerge again. It's something that
it's a pretty decent.
It's an ability that really
that
helps
extra half a second is going to be a decent bit of damage from Dorm's auto, particularly in the early game.
Nice. Excited.
It's a very efficient way to get damage out. So
Merlin is next up. He'll be getting a buff as well. Pompon, can you tell us about Dragonfire and the changes that are happening?
Merlin buffs. That's scary.
Yeah, so Dragonfire is the deployable where you have to make sure that they're actually standing in this area to get an effect, and to actually get all 6 stacks. The payoff was not only difficult to get, but it was also not fully worth it. So this change is really to make sure that when you apply, it's a lot easier to get those protection shreds active on a target.
So you need 4 procs. So he has more.
A more appropriate amount that doesn't.
He basically has easier penetration shreds.
This is important to note too that this is also protection reduction on gods specifically. Correct?
Very good point.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which means that this isn't. We're not he's already a very good objective controller.
Okay,
this is not a buff to his objective security.
Okay.
In any way. This is
no
really
more killing the fire giant even faster.
If he is able to trap,
because Lord knows he already kills it fast.
Gods in his Dragonfire, he can shred them appropriately as a worthwhile reward for the effort that he had to do to get there.
Okay, that's fine.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think decreasing those stacks would help. And next up, y'all, I'm so stoked. My girl Neith, getting the buff she deserves. Her Spirit Arrow is going to have a decreased cooldown.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can go for that. I mean, we've done a lot of pretty impactful buffs to Neith. I mean, the backflip feels
minus
so
half
much
a second
more
per level on the Spirit Arrow.
On that one, I know for sure. But her cooldowns for an ability hunter are a little bit on the longer side. We think just.
I mean, you're already gonna probably build cooldown on her anyway.
It's not gonna be changing. It'll be a really big quality of life change for her, as well as, of course, a buff across the board.
I can't wait. It's gonna be fantastic. We also have a buff coming for Oleron, increasing his base power, but also playing with Touch of Fate. Pawn, will you give us a little bit about that?
2 more base power and potentially 5% more critical strike.
His ultimate is obviously very powerful, but we've seen him go back and forth between being considered very viable to kind of struggling to really find a place in the meta, and he's right now on the kind of more of the side of struggling to find his place. We've seen this with a lot of the other major DCs as well. But
I always get nervous with anything Oleron.
Giving him some extra base power
Oleron
for his
is just
attacks,
I don't know.
Touch of Fate, that synergy to make sure that he does feel.
Not crit chance, crit damage.
Bumping those up to
50 to 55% on his crit damage.
In general, bring him up to where he needs to be.
It's honestly not that big of a difference. It's 5% either way. But any buffs to Oleron make me afraid.
And we have a Circuit buff coming as well. Pawn, will you give us a little bit of details about this one? We're having a few things going on with Circuit, it seems.
Yes. So Serket is a character that we want to be very careful of because if we buff her too much, she has a tendency to go towards more of this like tanky support build. So whenever we buff her, we want to make sure that we're buffing her more towards the
scaling on last breath.
That's where we feel like one, she feels the most fair, but also the one where she generally needs the most help to like be successful.
Stacks
so the first thing, Catalyst,
stacks
will not only be consumed when you actually damage a target. So if you basic attack a target that has maybe a block stack or is Aegist, you'll consume all your catalyst, but not deal any damage. Now it'll actually wait until you actually damage with that basic attack, so you get through the block stacks.
Helps fixing through Athena's and shells and stuff, so kind of ruining her
waste your passive stacks, which is just a nice quality buff for Serket.
It's a pretty big buff.
The second one is Last Breath.
Actually, especially with the prominence of shell in the meta right now.
True damaging,
pretty helpful.
Ultimate is going to get more power, so you're really incentivized to build power on her, especially because this scales so well. Like, the equivalent amount of damage this is doing because it's true damage is very good. So, Serket players will have just a nice buff overall in this patch.
That's a solid
for
Serket
right now. So
she's loving that.
We've got a buff coming for Sylvanas as well. Clumsy, will you help us with that? Talking about Verdant Growth, but also just in general his basic attack damage.
Yeah, Sylvanas is a guardian who brings a lot of control and utility to the team. It's a guardian that even I like to pick up as somebody who doesn't play guardians as much because it's just what you can do to help your team is really useful. But the one thing that's always been a struggle is kind of getting out of that early game. Right, you can heal your teammate a little bit, you can damage the enemies if they're nearby, but even though your basic attacks are a radius and hits everything in that area, it's actually, you're just not doing enough because you've only got Verdant Growth on top of that. And so that comes to these two buffs. We're going to be buffing his basic attacks as well as his Verdant Growth to try and get you out of that phase a little bit earlier. And going to transition a little bit better towards the late game as well, where the scaling on Verdant Growth will be a bit more impactful.
You don't see a lot of Sylvanas anymore, so.
Thank you so much. And then last but not least, Zhonghui is getting a buff to Exposed Evil. Pon, could you give us a little bit of insight onto that?
Power scaling per take from 15 to 20.
Just giving him a little bit extra scaling on his main
Zhonghui's actually, I think he might be underrated right now. I think Zhonghui might actually be quite good right now.
More effectively, so if you're building a bit more kind of on the damage side of Bruiser, you're going to feel this more. But that also synergizes with his 2, where he consumes it. It's going to be consumed based off how much damage it does. So this is also a buff to that component, that kind of like combination. So just in general, bringing him up, giving him some extra reward for building magical power.
It's pretty big.
Cool.
It's actually a pretty decent damage increase right there.
Just got that kitty cat skin, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
But that wraps up all of our balance. So let's start talking about the skins that are going to be coming with the update.
I want to know about the living conquest map changes.
And it will be releasing new skins. The
That's
first
what I
want to
know about.
Chilling Hesser Ares.
Ooh.
And he looks incredible.
Spooky.
That
Spooky boy.
I do not want that chasing me down the lane. I don't want that using chains to bring me closer. But it looks incredible.
Looks like I'd fight him in a crypt in an RPG as like a boss at like level 4, you know?
That they're
he's like the first boss that you encounter.
Looked really cool. So I'm super excited to see the effects in this game.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like the intimidation factor has gone up, which is a buff in itself. But let's give the voice pack a listen.
I awaken from my rest one last time.
Oh my god. That is incredible. I love it. That voice is perfect for him.
Kind of does look like a Raid Shadow Legends champion,
we've got
actually.
Headless Horror Chiron.
Kind of does. I think I played him.
With the Talons of Tyranny event.
Pretty cool, though.
The purple hits.
Purple's one of my favorite colors, so I'm really excited for this. I'm really going with the creepy
skeleton, can he be a skeleton without a head?
Yeah, absolutely.
A partial skeleton.
That's a cool skin.
Gosh,
I like that.
So neat. Look at where his head
That's very unique. It's very different.
Those flames and that's beautiful.
Very different.
That's awesome.
And then being able to see through his body. I love the skins where like you can see through them. Like the infinite skins like we were talking about earlier with the Prime Gaming, and then this Chiron skin as well. Really beautiful. Let's give it the voice back a listen.
The hunt has been called, and her victims shall now answer.
You can stop spinning me though. I get the gist of it.
I love it.
Spooky.
It's so spooky. With the Talons of Tyranny event, we are also going to have Lady of the Sea Discordia, which is my favorite skin from this update.
Oh,
look at her.
Sam. Wait,
this one's so good.
Discordia.
The little eel thing. What? It's got a little jellyfish cat.
Yes.
Yeah. This one is way too cool in game.
Oh,
wow. That's cool.
Oh my gosh, it's
so
like a
cool.
mermaid, but a jellyfish.
Wow,
and
that
am
is
rooting for this.
Wildly
oh my gosh,
different.
Yes, all day.
Oh, so
that's cool.
Little face too. Look at the little face on the jellyfish.
It does? Oh, it does. Yes.
That's a cool idea.
Oh, I want it.
Props to whoever came up with that idea. That's cool.
Outfit things. It's so pretty. Let's give the voice pack a listen.
Let's just float along today and see where the waves bring us.
I don't want it to talk to me though.
Perfect.
Very jellyfish.
I love it.
No talk.
Yes.
You
if
no
a jellyfish
talk.
could talk. And then the last skin from the Talons of Tyranny event will be Tormented Soul Medusa. And wait till y'all see this. Oh my god. This is terrifying. Such a different theme. I love the glowing. Oh my goodness. Yes. And she's actually, it almost looks like she's like missing her tail part from most of her skins.
Yeah, actually that's true. I didn't even think about that.
That's
You're right.
cool.
She's kind of like a tormented spirit, right? That's literally what the skin is. That's awesome.
And we are actually going to be hopping in game to see this one with Pawn. So let's give it a voice line and we'll hop in game.
I'll show you pain, and you have so much to learn.
Okay.
Oh my goodness,
Really like
I love
the
it.
Wow.
Flowing off
That's
towards where his
cool.
tail was.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
skulls.
Oh, those
like it.
effects are so neat. Get him, Pawn.
Whoa.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, yes.
That's a pretty cool
that's
lava
sick.
explosion. That looks like it would
I
hurt
love that.
a
It looks
lot.
like magma or like
Looks like it would hurt a lot.
lava that's coming off as her spray.
Yeah.
That is so pretty.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, this is
GG.
pretty dope.
First blood. I like it.
Awesome. Well, those are going to be all of the Talons of
Okay.
Tyranny skins that will be coming to y'all with the King of Uruk
I dig
update
it.
on April 20th. But we also, on 420, when the update launches, we'll have a groovy chest that will be coming with the update as well. And the first skin that we want to highlight
is
from
launching
there will
on
be
420.
the fun guy
Interesting.
Merlin skin. Let's take a look.
Interesting.
Yes.
Fun guy.
Yes.
I see what you did there.
Yes. All.
Okay, team.
Fun guy Merlin,
Merlin,
of course.
So yes, this will be part of the groovy chest.
Groovy,
which will
dude.
launch on 420 with the
Oh,
update.
it
Groovy.
looks amazing.
I'm obsessed
Okay.
with this.
Well, I'm gonna
Like-
check this one out.
I want the vest. I want the vest. I want the hat.
I can't wait to see what his
Let's get
effects
the-
look like.
God. Yeah, I haven't seen
Oh,
this
yeah.
one yet. This is my first time, so I'm really curious.
His face
Pretty
looks super
good.
friendly too. But let's give the voice pack a listen and see what he has to say.
All right, everybody.
If a
only
mushroom
good
is on
vibes
Merlin's head, does that make it a magic mushroom?
Let's go.
Only good vibes. That's the only way to play. And then the other skin that will be part of the groovy chest is Peace Out Artemis. And wait till y'all see. It's so pretty. It's so pretty.
Ooh.
Oh god,
I love her.
Is Tusky the bus?
It's got
Yes,
smiling
yes,
faces
yes,
with
yes.
tongues.
Tusky
Yeah.
better be a bus.
Wait, eyes.
I want to hit people
Okay.
with a bus.
Yeah, 100%. That has to be
I
right.
want to
yeah.
hit
It is,
people
it is.
with a bus.
There it is.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. that's
Yes.
sick.
This is now the best
And
skin in
Artemis has a lot
Smite.
of skins that I really like. but I
Oh
don't
man,
know
I'm
if
running
one
people
beats
over with
this
a
one
bus
for
in
me
Smite.
personally.
Oh, this is fantastic.
I think
Yeah,
she's
this is
ready to
pretty
go
awesome.
to Bonnaroo or a music festival, get down
Holy.
with her friends, and just
Oh
spread some
yeah,
peace and love.
that
I love
is
the
just
colors, but I love
the
tusky.
implications
Oh my God.
of just absolutely smashing,
All
just
right, and
running
let's see
over
how
gods
she
with a
sounds in game.
van. Oh,
Let's go on a nature walk. We really need to take in the beauty that's around us. You feel me?
I feel you.
Yeah, that's
I
gonna sell
feel you.
well.
Let's
Oh
go
my
on a
gosh.
walk.
the second you get killed by a car in Smite, you gotta go buy
And,
that car, and you're gonna
that'll
run
wrap
somebody
up
over
all of the
for
skins
sure.
that we'll be releasing with the update
Excellent.
on April 20th. And the last thing that we need to go over before we start getting into the Living Conquest changes and Gilgamesh is a couple of quality of life updates. The first thing that I want to talk to y'all about is adjustments to the login screen. Pawn, could you give us some little notes about that?
Yeah, so I'll try and keep this short because it's mostly backend stuff, but really we're making improvements to the backend for serviceability. So when you log into the new patch, you'll see kind of a login message. Whether or not there's a queue, it'll kind of put you into a queue and let you know, like, hey, you're in a queue, and then log you in. In most cases, this will just be a quick message. In case there's an actual queue, it'll be a bit longer. But again, this is really to help keep things stable and just generally build server stability.
Nice.
We are all about that server stability. That updates to that is fantastic. We also have some quality of life.
I guess I choose to believe
Baba
you.
Yaga.
Server
Who would like
buff.
to take those on?
I can also probably take that one on.
There we go. I was trying to figure out which way. It's like, there we go.
That way. Yeah.
So the quick of the Baba Yaga changes is really that we focus a lot on improving her ultimate. So her ultimate had some issues where, especially on some like maybe more jittery connections, you could have situations like you ult and the animations don't quite play correctly. You're walking around and your targeter and your camera will jitter. You'll start to try and fire ability and you'll like animate like you're actually throwing like an ability, but then you won't throw it and you have to like refire it.
For sure.
We've just done a lot of refactoring to that ability to make sure that it feels a lot smoother. So when you're playing in the new patch, it should feel like a much better experience to use Baba Yaga's ultimate.
You know what?
Okay, awesome. That'll be great.
12 times the charm, so help me. I'll play her and I'll let you know.
The root that she has is decreased, so she self-roots herself when she casts the ultimate. That's also decreased, so it should feel quicker and more responsive to actually start moving with that ability as well.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome.
We'll see.
And then there's only one last little
I'll
quality
be
of
the
life
judge
update, and
of that.
Will be, the textures not loading.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people who actually we found out, one of the small fixes for some people, depending on whether they're on DX9 or 11, you may see your icons or avatars with just blacked out. There's just nothing there, or even some models don't load in properly. You could have changed the texture settings. That might help you there. But for now, that's what you can do. But we're gonna have that fixed overall, so you won't have to worry about that soon.
Yay! Love to see it. Well, that is going to cover all of the balance, the skins.
Okay, but now we get the big
that are coming
stuff.
with the update. But next, let's talk about the first set of Living Conquest changes.
Let's
the
see
Rising
what these
Star.
have in store for us. Living map conquest changes.
Discord festers below. The goddess of the salt sea, Tiamat, contorts the land as she sees fit, as she does with ally and foe alike. Now the gods stand at a crossroad. Will they stand against Tiamat's reign, or join her on her conquest?
Welcome back, everybody. And how about that trailer? I'm just so pumped.
Ajax, what did that even mean, Ajax? Tell me what that even means.
Update of Season 8. I'm Isaiah from the community team. I want to give a quick shout out to Cupcake for taking us through what's been a great update show so far, but we've still got a ton to go over. And I've got Ajax here, and I've got Stereo Pawn here. Pawn is going to be our trusty driver as we start getting
doing
into
in
some
my
of this
jungle,
exciting
Ajax.
stuff coming into 8.4. But we said it at the beginning of the season, Conquest is going to be a living map, a living game mode with periodic changes that are going to be coming up in, periodic updates. So the Rising Storm is our kind of internal code name for this first update. And I'll pass it along to Ajax. What's going on in Smite and how is the battleground transforming?
Yeah, so this is a big feature that we've been looking forward to all season. We are finally here for our first update. We had just had a brand new map, and now we're going to go ahead and layer another level of change onto this brand new map. I don't really feel like the map is totally solved yet, but we're going to head and get it even spicier anyway. We're going to have a few changes that all fit according to the Smite storyline until the launch of our new god Gilgamesh. So as we all know, Gilgamesh is arriving in this update. We're going to learn more about him in a minute with Pon. But in the Smite universe, Tiamat was the savior. She banished Cthulhu. She cleansed the world of all of his corruption and madness. And the gods are still trying to figure her out. They're not really sure what she's up to. She could be good. She could be evil. She seems to be a little controlling, but not necessarily mean. But Gilgamesh shows up, and he has a history with Tiamat. He knows about Tiamat's past, and he wants to fight her immediately. That does not make Tiamat happy. So as a response, Tiamat kind of puts a twist on her map that she has created for us. She summons a great storm, as well as she causes the hanging gardens of Babylon to overgrow. And what that's going to do is create 2 major changes to the map in 8.4. We're going to see a completely new skybox and lighting change to a dark and stormy skybox and a darker lighting treatment. This might remind some people of the older Season 2 map that was very kind of dark and stormy. We've been really excited to try out something like this. So that's just a really big visual change. As soon as you load into the map, you will notice the difference. And then additionally, we have a brand new game mechanic called the Vine Walls, which are breakable walls that spawn in the jungle to block your path, and you will have to break through them to go through these jungle paths.
I know. We're actually ready to go in game. We want to definitely show it off because lots of kind of balance implications, especially towards the map is like literally very that these walls are going to be causing. And as you can see, we've got around the Harpy camps on the left and right sides of mid lane. In the patch notes, we've got a high-res version of the mini map that you'll be able to see exactly where these walls are. But AJ, talk to me about these walls and where they are and how they are being destroyed here.
So we were playing up on the mechanic of the base gates and what we call dynamic geometry, which is, blocking volumes that prevent players from moving, but that can also be affected by players. So what we have here is these are tactically placed around the middle of the map, and they're placed symmetrically. So there's one for the order side as well as the chaos side. You can see they have 2 health points as the red orbs that are floating within them. They can only be broken by basic attacks. So every wall can be broken with 2 basic attacks. They don't provide any gold or experience. They're specifically there to be unique play on how you move and how you travel through the jungle.
I get.
Probably the only other important rule about them is their respawn. So they will respawn when their adjacent jungle camp respawns. So as Pawn just cleared out here, he killed all the walls, but he's not killing any jungle camps. Those walls will stay down, but when you're playing a more of a normal match and you're killing those mid harpies, so every time the mid harpies respawn, the walls will also respawn, even if they were just killed moments ago. If you just aren't killing them, then nothing will change. They'll stay there. But it creates a really scary situation here in the mid lane where you can get trapped by them, or even just breaking them, or as you're fleeing from someone or chasing down someone, they can make a big impact on the battle.
Definitely. And I know just immediately as we loaded into the map, as you were saying, the skybox has been completely changed. Talk to me about a little bit of the art direction and how we've wanted to go with a little bit of a darker style here for the skybox.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think this is one thing that players have talked about in Smite for a while. They wanted a bit of a, trying to think of the right word. They wanted a more serious conquest map, right? They wanted some drama. They wanted some weight.
I love it.
They wanted things to be looking
more
like
changes.
More
changes better than less changes.
We wanted Tiamat's arrival to have a kind of a positive spin on it. It's a cleansing of this, evil creature Cthulhu, and it had a very sunset lighting, as we called it, which is kind of, very, the golden hour, as they say, the best time to take photographs when you look the best. When people
I was about to say, I'm like, the lighting's kind of like sensual.
But now
it's like I'm out on a date or something,
friction between Tiamat and Gilgamesh and the rest of the gods.
Time to go out for some dinner or something.
We have changed that lighting. We've also made some environment changes here to the mid lane.
Cuddle around the fire.
There's some
damage
to the mid lane, kind of to represent the fight between Tiamat and Gilgamesh. And Tiamat has also ignited these torches on the Babylonian structures to kind of let the gods know that
it's kind of romantic. It's like the romantic
environment team did a big pass on the lighting throughout the jungle. There is some interesting white to gray lighting to help guide you through the jungle, but still give it a darker feel. The order base itself is kind of in a, as if there was a break in the clouds and just a bit of sun shining through. All of that shining onto the order base, but the rest of the map
cool, actually,
plunged into darkness. And the darker map is also really interesting because it helps the Smite gods and abilities really stand out, I think. Oftentimes players actually have a harder time seeing in Smite when things are too bright and when maps are too white, yellow, gold. That can be a little bit more
loving the
tiring on players, or actually more difficult to see. I think the
I really think the aesthetic is cool.
middle ground for that, but we've made that mistake.
I love the
changing
aesthetic
so
and the changing
really
map.
To bring in this darker
as somebody that plays Smite all day,
really
every day, more
change,
more is better.
These, quarterly changes
I love
to Conquest. We want them to be noticeable, visible changes to the map.
Keep it spicy.
Yeah, this is super exciting. I know this is something that was like really, really big in the community when we announced it at the beginning of the year. And I am super excited for players to hop into Conquest, the Rising Storm, this brand new living Conquest map. The entire team internally is excited about it, and we hope players are as excited as we are. It's definitely looking awesome, and it's definitely going to feel awesome as we continue to progress in the Smite story this season. The stage is set for Conquest, but we also want to touch on another game mode that we announced at the beginning of the year. Before we start talking about Gilgamesh, we've got some Slash updates, and I'll pass it over to you, Ajax, on this one.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking questions about this, so we prepared this kind of statement to talk more about Slash and just be more specific about our goals for the mode. First thing is that the mode is not planned to launch until much later in the year. Q4, so end of the year. I saw a lot of people out there saying that any update now, it's going to be ready.
I thought it was going to be mid-season.
Still very early.
Very wrong.
Also wanted to just, I'm going to be more careful here with my notes because there's some very specific wording here. We really want Slash to feel like the rework that Siege mains and Clash mains both want, but in one map. And people might be asking, why? Why do we want to make that in one map? And the answer is really because when we were looking at the problems with Siege and trying to draw on what is successful in Smite in other modes that could help make Siege a better experience, we actually were looking at a lot of things we're doing in Clash. And when we were looking at what are the problems with Clash and what are other things that work well in Smite, we were seeing actually some lessons from Siege. And so we were just realizing more and more that these modes had a lot of overlap between them. They both occupy a very similar gameplay space in Smite, which is something that has a high amount of combat, but lower amount of strategy and farming, like Conquest. So you want something in between.
Also helps that you can combine their player bases to make the matchmaking better too.
Clash are ways to prepare for Conquest. That generally does
lower
not
the
work,
queue times.
That's a good idea. But they are interesting twists on more casual game modes like Arena, but giving you more objectives and more things to play around. So that conclusion kind of led us towards working them together into one map. So we're going to be trying to take the best parts of both maps and bring them together into one mode. We're going to continue naming the map Slash. That's just was an internal code name, but it's just caught on. People just like it. And we even went forward with it with our Smite World Championships branding video. So it's going to be Slash. It's going to feature a Maya base as well as an Egyptian base, so you're going to get both art sets. There's still going to be a huge amount of updated brand new environment art for both of them, and the mode is going to be 5v5, which I know most people are asking about.
It'll be 5v5.
Really, 5v5 modes, we've seen just a lot more success in Smite. A lot more of the game is balanced around it. People can bring
you're
in
gonna
full
go
parties
to
at
the
5v5.
Clash?
There's just a lot of advantages to 5v5.
I only go to the Clash.
But this map is gonna have a lot of siege
have
mechanics.
fun into the Slash,
without
or
giving
whatever
away
you
too
call
many
it.
spoils on the map, we're looking to keep things like lane pushing juggernauts. We're looking to keep things like teleporting. We are looking to keep a lot of siege type mechanics as well. So this map still will feel like a siege update, although it will be 5v5. So that's the plan right now. We're still in early testing for it. We're gonna be trickling out information.
I was under the impression that it was gonna be mid-season. So it's a hot minute
to help evaluate with that. Although they won't be able to tell you all about most of their early testing because of the NDAs and other agreements we have with them. But we're going to be making sure we keep the community feedback in mind as we move forward. And it's going to be a really exciting new game mode. I'm really looking forward to it. But just wanted to go ahead and get those out there, clear the air, make sure no one is confused about what our goals are for Slash.
Definitely. Much appreciated, Ajax. So you've got your first set of Slash updates here on the show. I'm sure as you're ready to get, trickle out more information.
Give me some Gilgamesh
we'll be posting
action.
It on social media.
I want to see Gilgamesh.
About it on future update shows. And like Ajax said, towards the end of the year is when that new game mode is going to hit the live client. But we've got, we went over the Conquest updates. You got an update on Slash, but I feel like it's time to talk about the King. We are ready to go in and talk about Gilgamesh, the newest warrior coming to Smite. We'll be right back on the other side of this break.
Give me that trailer, dude. Let me see him call down his weapon from the heavens again. It's a flippin' cool trailer. Going full Gandalf against the Balrog. Yoink.
Welcome
I am
back,
excited
everyone.
to see the actual
stage
kit
is set
and the
quite
interactions
literally.
with
The
him
storm
being
is over
able
the conquest map
get
now.
free items.
Gilgamesh has arrived
so.
to battle Tiamat in this fated event in 8-4 that is coming up, the Rising Storm, and we are ready to talk about Gilgamesh, King of Uruk. So as we get ready to go in game and as production starts pulling up the card art and the turnarounds here, Pon, I'll go to you first. Who is Gilgamesh, and kind of where is he fitting in Smite?
He's handsome daddy is who he is.
Yeah, so Gilgamesh, I mean, many people have probably read his epic, his story, but he's a king, he's a leader, and he's also an adventurer. He is starts off as this very kind of self-righteous guy who's only invested in himself, and through encounters with his basically wrestling partner Enkidu, his friend, he learns humility, and through his adventuring he starts to become friends and learn more about what it means to be a
his
ruler.
wrestling
and
partner.
upon Enkidu's death,
That's what
he
they called
actually
him back then.
learns that mortality is a thing that he
was a
actually has
different
to be a little
time.
worried about, and it humbles him, and he starts off from this kind of self-righteous king to this very fine and powerful ruler who cares for his people. And so we're kind of in the middle of that journey with him in the story of Smite. But yeah, he's just one of those like central figures in any, whenever you're talking about like heroes' journeys or old epics, he is like the character to go to. He's like one of the first epics that we had like written down. So big historical figure, super excited to have Gilgamesh and Smite.
Definitely. And he isn't the first king to join the battleground. Ajax, talk to me a little bit about how we approached the theme and the visuals for Gilgamesh compared to, some of the other kings that we've introduced in Smite.
Well, Gilgamesh is special to us because he's our first god from a new region.
He's got some like crazy texture. You can like see like the sweat on his
Middle East, which is really interesting. And there's a lot of great historical imagery. Specifically this civilization was known for carvings and stone tablets. Both,
that's crazy high definition
language, which is where the
he's
epic
like
of
legit
Gilgamesh
sweating.
comes
You
from.
can like see
when you
sweat
say
on his
something is
abs.
epic, it's because of the epic of Gilgamesh. Like that was the first epic.
He is juicy,
which is just really exciting to have that level of history and
look at that flipping weapon,
which
it's like glowing with electricity
but
too.
Then also now we have a completely new culture in Smite, which we're always happy to have. And
kind of looks like he could just punch you with that left hand, and that would pretty much that would do me in. He doesn't even need the sword. Just punch me with that crazy glove.
And his style, and I think he just looks amazing.
He definitely looks amazing, but I am ready to see how he dukes it out on the battleground. I believe we are ready to go in game, and as is tradition, I will give Pon the reins to just do what it do and show us what Gilgamesh does. Really
Touch the light. Touch it.
Let's go.
Touch it. He touched it. Oh! Okay.
Oh my goodness, this is so dope.
I forgot that Gilgamesh was an MMA fighter, dude. I forgot.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I forgot about that.
That is great. Oh my goodness.
George saying Gilgamesh. I forgot that was his nickname.
Glimpse at what Gilgamesh can do. They might notice that he's got a round shield just kind of flashing in his inventory. Let's talk about the passive Epic of Gilgamesh, Pon. How did he get that round shield?
Yeah, so that's the Epic of Gilgamesh. You're going to actually adventure as Gilgamesh. You're going to have different things you have to do around the map. So the big thing here is at level 5, you'll get your first quest. These quests can be completed at any time throughout the game, but they have different requirements. The first quest is visit location on the map. So you can see when I spawned here, it was here. This is mostly just because we're in like testing and I'm level 20 and I'm switch crossing all the time. But what it'll do is when you hit level 5, it'll pick a location on the enemy side of the map that is close to kind of where you were when you hit level 5. So if you're in solo lane, it's going to be kind of around the enemy speed buff or the enemy harpies. If you're in dual lane as a support, it's going to be more around like the purple area. But it's going to encourage you to go actually adventure into the enemy side of the base to find a location. If you successfully get there and walk over that beacon that was on the ground, you get a tier 1 item. So that's the reward for any of the quests.
They're playing him in the mid lane right now.
10, you get a second quest, which is the first one was to adventure. The second quest is to conquer. You have to defeat half the enemy team rounded up in a single team fight.
Oh, wow.
So if a big team fight erupts and 3 of the enemy team members die, whether you got the kill or assist, you will actually complete that quest.
I thought you had to
get another reward
for
that, which is another random tier 1 item. So you can definitely, if you're willing to risk and try and like create these situations where you can get the quest done, you can get quite a big reward for it.
Okay.
Definitely, this is super dope and something that we haven't done in Smite before. Pon, talk to me. What if I have a full inventory whenever I complete a quest? What happens?
Yeah, what happens, Pon?
So the general rough value of a starter item is around 450 to 500 gold if you were just to like sell it. So maybe you get an item and you're like, I'd rather finish my tier 3 than use this. You'd sell it for about 500. That's what we're going to give you if you have a full inventory. So that's the alternate reward if we can't put an item in your inventory.
Cool.
Awesome. Sounds great. All my MMO fans out there should get this really easy. Get the quest, complete the quest, get the loot for sure. Gilgamesh getting some immediate value at level 5
and much like an RPG, I'm probably just going to end up selling it for cash.
And kind of the lore of Gilgamesh is he's got all these artifacts, so the passive definitely
very
plays
similar.
Off of that. He's
Good
collecting the artifacts across the battleground, but he's also got his Sunforged Scimitar as one of the artifacts that he's bringing along with him, his iconic weapon. Talk to me about Ability 1.
Yeah, so Gilgamesh, when he adventures, he finds all these artifacts throughout the story. And so this is an artifact that we've kind of imagined from the weaponry of the time, where he has this weapon that's forged in the sun. And as such, it ignites with the heat of the sun. So you can see here, you have these smoldering embers on the sword towards the bottom.
I do see
When you activate your one, they're going to ignite and erupt into fire. And you can see his whole weapon is now basically enemies who are caught in this ignition take damage and are slowed. And Gilgamesh now deals damage to targets, some extra bonus damage for hitting targets, equal to his maximum health. So right now I believe it's equal to about 3.5% of his maximum health. So the more health you build, the more effective this actually becomes. And you can see here that as I keep attacking this Odin, the buff is still on me, it's staying on me. It actually extends in duration the more successful you are. So if you activate this and can keep attacking your target, you get to keep this buff for
they made an animosity
so you can
god
have this pretty much indefinitely, and you can chain it into the one going off cooldown and like activating again and getting it all refreshed.
That's sick. And I know since we're talking about basic attacks, I'm not sure if Pon or AJ, I believe we've got some new tech that we added in for these basic attacks to help out.
And that sword looks flipping cool though.
Yeah, so you can see as I'm moving around. Yeah.
Go ahead,
so
Pon.
the basic attacks, a lot of our basic attacks have these like kind of forward animations, but to make sure that the characters can move in 8 directions and run, we sometimes have to do these 8-way splits essentially. And we lose a lot of that forward momentum, but the art team did a really good job here where they've done new tech here to keep some of that forward animation as you're doing these 8-way movements. So you'll notice this as you're playing, these attacks just feel super smooth and feel super responsive. And that's due to the art being able to convey that forward momentum.
It is a pretty satisfying auto sound. It is. That's really important.
Fun to play with.
There's a lot of back-end tech art, very complex changes, and it's a subtle impact that you might feel, or if you're someone who's really interested in animations, you might notice it more than others. But we're really happy with how it's improved our gods' animations, and we're going to be using it on future gods. So we're just really proud of our team for that, even if maybe the lesser eye wouldn't spot it.
For sure, yeah, but these basics definitely look satisfying. But
Ajax confirmed making fun of my eyes.
Feel even more satisfying to land.
Grow
Let's talk about
Ajax.
Yeah, Dropkick. This is the one that everyone has like played Gilgamesh and been like, nope, that was just cool. What I did there was just very cool. So Dropkick is what you'd expect. It's a dropkick. You dropkick an area in front of you, and you send them flying.
Oh yeah, I love
if
that.
If they collide with a god or a wall, they'll stun. So you can see here. Oh, let me send cooldown back on. If I send this Odin into that other Odin, they both get stunned for the duration. So you can try and actually use this to hit multiple targets and stun multiple targets, or you can just send them flying back to your team.
I can't wait for people to be out of position and then to kick their friend into them to stun them, and they get killed, and then let their friend live.
Don't hold W. It has built-in forward momentum. So not only does this just make the weight of the ability feel really high, but like it lets you follow up. So here, I actually am in better position now to follow up off that stun than I would be otherwise. So it just helps the flow of the ability.
Love it. Yeah, just like toss the Ymir
showing us
into his Artemis and then kill the Artemis, let the Ymir walk away.
I love how we've just incorporated it into everything that we're doing. The trailer has
the aesthetic is so good in that ability.
I'm so ready to hit people with it on the battleground. But let's move along to Hero's Advance, which is his 3 and going to be a movement ability for Gilgamesh.
Yep, so Hero's Advance is the main movement ability for Gilgamesh. He targets a ground location, and you can see it's quite a big area. It actually hits this whole area as well. But when you land, you have this field that gets created. Now, for allies outside of it, they'll see this as like a beacon of light. And as they run towards it, so you can see if I run out of here and start running towards it, I'll get some movement speed for running towards it. So this is your way as the warrior to jump into the middle of the enemy team and be like, hey, teammates, we're fighting here right now. Everyone gets a boost of movement speed to get there. And then while they're inside of it, they get some of that movement speed, but they also get lifesteal equal to 10% plus a certain percentage of Gilgamesh's highest protection. So you can see a theme here. He wants to build health, he wants to build protection, he wants to be the frontline bruiser that's very hard to take down. And for doing so, you get to provide some extra damage with your 1, as well as some extra lifesteal to your teammates with the
No, stop it. Okay.
All right, that is Hero's Advance. Let's go ahead and talk about the ultimate ability for Gilgamesh, Winds of Shamash.
Interesting.
So Shamash is someone who actually helps Gilgamesh in one of his main battles with Humbaba, a demon. He calls upon Shamash to bind the demon.
It's pronounced Baba Yaga.
With his winds.
Okay.
And so he's calling down the winds again here. It's a range deployable circle that creates essentially a ring of wind.
That's really cool looking.
Slowed, they take some wind damage over time, and then you can see at the end there, if they're still in it, the winds kind of turn into these threads that end up binding them, rooting and crippling them if they stayed inside of it, causing them to take extra damage. But that's not quite all. So let's see if I can get this with Bot's Orbit.
It's cool.
Oh, no, they don't want to behave. Unfortunate.
Let's see if I can get this to work. Immediately doesn't work.
If I just spawn we're going to go over to the other lane, and I'm going to spawn an enemy Gilgamesh.
Two of the other lane pawn.
Yeah, I know.
I like how we took these abilities, you know, the Dropkick, and the way we did the kind of King of the Ring ultimate, and we even brought that into some of his animation. He has sort of a professional wrestler vibe you'll get from a few of his animations that helps with his confidence and bravado as a king.
Major fighter.
But then he's very driven and very, you know, intentional and wise at the same time, which is just, I think, worked out really well.
But here you can see this wind wall. The outer walls actually slow you incredibly heavily. This is a 70% slow at maximum rate. And if Gilgamesh attacks you while you're inside that area, so it's basically kind of like a ring, but it's a soft ring. It doesn't actually fully lock in.
Interesting.
If Gilgamesh attacks you while you're inside that ring, the slow area of it, the ring will actually knock you back towards the center. And you can obviously combine this with your Dropkick to send them back at you. So you get to bounce them off the edge of the ring. So Gilgamesh's whole game plan really is to cast this on a team and then use his attacks and damaging abilities to keep them inside that ring for as long as he can to make sure that they get bound by the winds of Shamash.
That's so sick.
I'm loving the vibes here, like AJ was saying, the professional wrestler, like leaning towards those things a little bit. Gilgamesh being
design,
astute but aggressive.
That's a really well thought out design.
You know, really straightforward. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, what we've been seeing in playtest in terms of playstyle and where Gilgamesh is, you know, kind of landing in Conquest.
Yeah, so when it comes to playing him in Conquest, we've been playing him we've tried support, we've tried solo, and we've tried jungle. Early on, his damage was very high, so he was doing really well in the jungle. But as we've tuned balance for him, he's really found his home in the solo lane. He's very effective at boxing out opponents.
Hear me
lane,
out.
Really fighting
we
for
put him
lane
in mid.
control, and just kind of trying to pressure out opponents with
tanky build,
Dropkick,
both animosity,
back into the tower,
still do tons of damage.
The wave. The one, because of the way the cooldown works, where when you activate it, it goes on cooldown immediately. So as you're using the stim, you could be getting the cooldown available for it again to use it. It makes you a very effective boxer if they try and actually trade with you. So I would expect to see him mostly in the solo lane.
Gladiator shield,
flex into,
animosity. We can start in the mid lane. We don't even need a starter
item.
This
in lane is pretty devastating.
Trust.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I can only imagine. Oh, that
can't wait to blink behind somebody and then drop kick them
the basic
away.
attack focus
And then they try to run away and then they get stuck on my wall.
That Warrior hasn't brought new to the game in a little while. It does give him some flex potential as well. Potentially he could be played in the jungle, but I think he does really well in the solo lane. If you use that leap, which has a really big hit area, you can poke your enemy god and then group up the minions really well with a 3-1 combo to just clear the lane really effectively, and then you're getting a lot of swings in, so you always have a lot of uptime on that scimitar. So he plays great in both roles, honestly. And he's just a very fun god who does who just gets up in the mix. Really, that's what warriors are really designed to do, and Gilgamesh does that very well.
Nice. Well, he will definitely
I'm
be
very excited
jumping in head first in 8-4 to challenge Tiamat during the Rising Storm update on Conquest. Well, that just about does it for the kit.
That second ability is so fun.
All the recolors and take a listen to the voice pack for Gilgamesh that we've got going on.
Haven't gotten tired
yet.
The
first recolor that we want to show off is the standard recolor for Gilgamesh, and it is going to be Crimson King. And I love the card art here. It is super dope. What do you think, AJ?
I love it, of course. We had a lot of really cool colors for Gilgamesh. We had a lot of blues and purples, and then here we have kind of this red magenta kind of color, which it feels very royal, and it fits the king well.
Definitely. I believe we're going to be able to have a turnaround here for this recolor as well, as we get ready for it.
Are we going to be going back into the Conquest map at any point, Isaiah?
I didn't plan on it, but is there anything interesting that you wanted to show off?
There's one more thing on the Conquest map that I forgot to show during the Conquest update section.
Let's see if production
Pawn
can
is still in the match, and he could switch to a god like Cthulhu for me.
Is it going to be tree related?
Did you do that, Pawn?
The only thing I can think is that it's tree related.
Go ahead and speed yourself out to the jungle anywhere. Go to the jungle.
There we go.
All right, so we have another new tech art feature along with Gilgamesh's animation smoothing. We also have new foliage, invisible foliage tech.
So activate your ultimate, forgot to bring this up.
The trees will disappear around you, and as you get closer to the trees that are going to be in your ultimate's range, they will start to dissolve away. So no longer will players be able to hide in fear under the trees while you chase them down. This works off of the god's height. So any god that raises into a height above the trees will give them a vision radius, and if the higher they go, the larger it goes. So you can't really notice this as much with Thor because you can't move at the same time. But when you go up in the air as Thor, all of the trees within your targeting area will be invisible, and you'll be able to see the ground and be able to dunk down onto them. Gods like Thanatos and also can also appreciate it. We're going to also even continue looking to tweak fine-tune this to maybe even affect gods at a lower height, like Cthulhu just walking around, right? But that's not currently in this update. In this update, it's only the ultimate and above height. But that's a really big feature. I know players have been really asking for it since 8.1.
Most definitely.
I think that global alts are really, really strong, and visibility and being able to hide behind rocks and things should be a part of mechanic of the game. But the trees were maybe just pushing that into the frustration territory and not the balance territory. So we went ahead and added this feature. So big shout outs to our tech art team, along with that Gilgamesh animation tech. They also came up with this one, and it's just beautiful. So
I know. Definitely shout outs to the team. And
the patches have been really good lately.
Incorporating that.
I mean, obviously, like when like the servers crash and like they're down for a week,
just changing,
but that's like kind of a separate issue. But
the tech side
the patches themselves have been really good.
I got word from production.
I love that they're putting in like new tech. I love that they're throwing out new ideas and new aesthetics.
Super cool model.
The god designs have been really cool. Balance has been pretty on point.
King Gilgamesh. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the voice pack before we start talking about
the other
could like actually
the
mastery skins.
Handle the game, you know, because
fresh land
design-wise, it's been great.
Adventurer. I wonder what I shall find here.
Man, these skins for Gilgamesh are so HD.
That's
like,
dope.
look at that. Look at the
you hit the nail
detail
right
on
that. Voice pack is sick. I love the tie-ins
like
to passive and,
Gilgamesh, dude.
Him adventuring around and finding these artifacts and relics and gaining some new items. The next recolor that we have that we want to talk about is actually the Season Pass 2021 recolor. We've got Ascended Gilgamesh going to be coming up here. So if you've picked up that Season Pass 2021, you'll be able to unlock this limited recolor as soon as Gilgamesh goes live on April 20th. The card art is dope. I love Tiamat in the background. He's got a nice slash that he's hit here as well. And this is the turnaround. This is the more purple vibe, right, AJ?
There you go. Historically the color of royalty in lots of other cultures. So made a good sense as a recolor for him. But Definitely. I think his default is the most historical. But then we explored a few others on the recolors, and then his card art for the mastery I'm really big fan of, because obviously the color choice for mastery, we don't have a lot of flexibility on the color choice for mastery, but we did get a little creative with the card art, which I really love.
Definitely, he's definitely flexing.
That's my favorite card art.
Nice. I know, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at the card art for the mastery skin. Watch the throne, everybody. Gosh. He is just here chilling. That is sick.
Look, he looks like he wants to get out and adventure so bad. He's like, why did I have to come to this meeting?
I know, right? Story of my life. Zoom calls, Google Hangouts. I definitely feel you, Gilgamesh.
There's every moment where he's like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't go fight Humbaba," and Gilgamesh is like, "No, I want to fight."
Even the gold skin looks good on him because of how much detail there is. Everything looks so good on him, man.
This is the golden and then the legendary, the black and gold,
look at
my
that.
favorite.
Look
I
at
gotta say it every
legendary.
update show. This one looks sick, and I believe we'll have my diamond here in just a second to look at. I'm loving it. Oh, I love the treatment on the weapon there for the diamond skin as well. All right, guys. Well, that is Gilgamesh. That is the king of Uruk. Any final words on Gilgamesh before we close out the show?
I mean, it was super
when
fun
do we
to work
get
on
to
this
play
character.
him?
It's such a
PTS
historical figure, being able to like
Friday,
explore what he could do in
guys?
Smite, making this kind of like lean, straightforward warrior kit was like super satisfying, and so I can't wait for you guys to play him on the PTS, which hopefully will be at some point soon.
Yes,
Friday.
PTS on Friday.
PTS on Friday. And New Conquest on Friday. New Conquest on Friday. No, I'm really excited for the Conquest
stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Conquest updates.
Okay.
We did a new map, and we were like, what's a new thing we can do on top of a new map? And like, what if that new map kept feeling new the whole year? And we just did a brand new map. So I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think this is probably one of the smaller of the changes. The ones we have planned for the rest of this year, I think, are bigger each time. And have bigger gameplay
as somebody that plays Smite all day
and stuff like that.
I love more changes.
I don't know, this one
keeps
is
the game
pretty
fresh
cool,
for your
this one
boy.
is just getting
the fresher the game feels, the more exciting it is to stream, the more smiles that get spread throughout the world of Smite.
We've got other artistic ideas. We've got some really cool stuff
I love
that we're working on. But
we love not being bored.
That's going to be the whole year is going to be like that. Just get ready for more cool stuff one after another all year long.
I know. Lots of exciting stuff coming in Smite Season 8. Keep playing and keep joining us on these update shows as we break it all down for you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. PTS on Friday. We'll see everybody on...
Well, I mean, on the whole, good balance changes. I would say the only thing, balance-wise, that I really didn't get hit was a Boomba's nerf. They technically nerfed it by, not being able to hit things outside their range. But I would have liked to see a Boomba's hammer nerf. They did the Sundering Axe nerf, but they didn't really hit the Boombas. So I would have liked to see that more nerf. But other than that, all of the balance changes were pretty good. all of the upcoming stuff looks pretty good. I like the changes. Gilgamesh looks like a bunch of fun. And hopefully you'll get to check it out all on Friday. Hopefully they have the PTS up for me. Sometimes they have the PTS up for me, and sometimes they don't. So we'll see if they get it up in time for the morning bros.